Yeah, good morning, guys. As we approach the election, it's just appropriate that, of course, we begin to examine all the major candidates. And there will be this assumption, or should I say insinuation, by the obedience. They believe the ruling party is paying so much attention to Peter Obi. That is, they are focusing on Peter every time they're criticizing him, every time they are exposing him. That it only means that the ruling party is paying this much attention because they are threatened. Peter Obi is the only, is the ruling party's only threat. They are afraid, they are jittery. The ruling party, and by extension their members, their supporters, they even want Peter out of the race because they are afraid of what he could, the run he could deliver in the ballot. No, we say no. I have initially delivered an analogy to explain this, saying today, you see, there are more studies, more conversations around mosquitoes, efon, than lions, despite lion being the king of the jungle. Why? Because the mosquito, for a lion to cause you harm, you have to encroach on its territory. But mosquitoes invade your own territory and inflict with sicknesses, with diseases. Therefore, there are a lot of conversations around how to curb this nuisance, and make the society a better place for living. So mosquitoes will offer more conversations because it's more of a nuisance, than that it offers any value.
And dangerous.
Yeah, it's a greater danger to the society than a lion. You get the point? In your homes today, you have the portrait of a lion there, not mosquitoes. But daily, there are more conversations around mosquitoes. You get the analogy? But practically speaking, we are discussing Peter more because unlike Atiku, whose resume, whose curriculum vitae, whose performance in politics was at a national stage, therefore, his failures were equally witnessed by everybody. You do not need to explain Atiku's failures to people before they understand. Because those of us old enough, when he was vice president from 1999 to 2007, it was our lived reality. Real time, we experienced Atiku's misgovernance, correct? But Peter, we have to do more explaining because Peter governed over a relatively small, obscure, inconsequential society. And when Peter was governor from 2006 to 2014, nobody outside the Southeast knew him. We didn't know him in Southwest. Nobody. Go through the releases, news, or even media archives of that era. Peter did not feature in any of our political conversation in the Southwest. We don't know him. We didn't know him. He was totally invisible on the political radar as far as Yorubas are concerned. And it's the same for Northerners. And it's not a matter of distance because from the Southwest, we heard of the exploits of Donald Duke in Cross River. We heard of the achievement, the accomplishment of Peter Odili in River State. So it was not a matter of distance. It was a matter of that the man was immersed in mediocrity. Therefore, there was nothing of substantial value to discuss outside his immediate perimeter. Therefore, if he has now been introduced to the national stage, we hold it as a point of duty for us to then investigate. Since we didn't know him as governor, we had to go back to investigate what was his performance as governor. In the last election, he kept saying we should go and verify. And we went to verify and we returned with an unfortunate report saying, look, whatever it is he did as governor shouldn't be allowed to replicate in presidency. And those that follow him today as loyalists and supporters also agreed with us because it is their testimonies we have formed our judgment with. Many of them know and have challenged obedience, that any obedience should come out today and bring a real-time commendation of Peter Obi's reign. Real-time, that is, people that commended him while he was governor. They should bring it out to us as evidence, and we will recount on our on our criticisms of the man. You will not find any. So we had more work to do with Peter in the minds of the people than Atiku. And I understand that is why Atiku also is not as frequent or as regular on the social media space or in the media space generally criticizing the government like Peter, because Atiku knows that there's practically nothing he wants to criticize the government about that he didn't do worse as vice president. There's nothing. If Atiku wants to criticize the government, for example, on education, saying the government is not doing enough in education, that is the higher institution component of it that concerns the federal government, then we'll okay. Let's assume without conceding that you are correct. How did you do? How well do you do? How well did you perform as vice president? Then you realize that in 1999 to 2007 that he was vice president, the only thing that became a regular feature in our university system is university strikes, ASU strikes. The academic calendar of our children, the students of that era, was heavily distorted that 4 years became 6 years. 6 years, and if you're unfortunate they are studying medicine, for example, you can always expect to be in university for 10 years. Law students many of them out of frustration, had to leave the Nigerian academic system. That's why we had so many graduates from Republic of Benin, from Ghana at that time, because parents became frustrated. Education is not cheap, so many of them, their parents planned, maybe with cooperative, maybe with whatever it is, that okay, 4 years we should be done, then we can restart our repayment plan to wherever sources we got the funds from. Now 4 years became 6 years. In 1999, universities were on strike for 150 days. In 2000, universities was on strike for 90 days. 2002, 14 days. 2003, 180 days. That was the longest at the time. Now, in 2003, when the schools were shut for 180 days, guess what Atiku was doing? He was opening his own private university, APTI in Yola, alongside with his principal, the Bells in Ota. Universities, public institutions, our schools, government schools were in comatose. Our students were stranded at home. The leaders, both of them, with whom these things are their primary responsibility, they were opening their own private universities. What does that mean? They gave up on public universities and said, okay, since we cannot provide you adequate education in public universities, you can as well come to our own private institutions, which were not free, which were not cheap, which were not affordable. So they meant if you need to steal, if you needed to be corrupt as civil servants, just attend if you think we are not doing enough in our public institution. It was public recklessness of the highest order. That was what we witnessed under Atiku as vice president. So he cannot condemn. In the 8 years, 1999 to 2007, sir, a cumulative 534 days, approximately 18 months of university strike. So Atiku knows that how then will you, whose government threw our students and our children into consistent, persistent university strikes, condemn a government that has witnessed 0 strike in its tenure? So Atiku will not speak to that direction. And he cannot also speak on leadership. Because at least Asiwaju's leadership journey is clear to everybody. From when he was senator in 92, and wanted to be Senate president, and he had to forfeit his own ambition, Senate president's ambition, so that MQ Abiola could be president in SDP. Or to when he contested as governor in 1999 as a progressive, of which before then he fought for the democracy. You understand? He fought for the democracy we currently enjoy. He was one of those who fought for the democracy we enjoy now, and which Atiku wants to preside over. His life was constantly at risk. His properties were razed. He had to flee into exile. And that is, of course, after refusing every offer by the then Abacha government to be in his regime. Because if you recall, many progressives were snatched from the MKO camp to serve under Abacha. But Asiwaju, as close as he was to MKO, he never betrayed the cause. So When he became governor in 1999-2007, we knew how he became an institution unto himself, because he started grooming mentees and leaders that in themselves became even greater leaders. Many of Asiwaju's mentees occupied higher offices before he himself even became president. For example, Asiwaju was never minister, but Fashola was minister, right? Asiwaju was never the leader of the National Assembly in any capacity, but Jabi Amila was speaker, correct? Asiwaju was never vice president. Oshibajo was president, was VP. You understand? Asiwaju was never Senate president. Lawan was Senate president. So he groomed people that even outgrew him politically, and they occupied higher offices before him, and now he's president. We have such history, and he also has a history of being able to build a system. That is why, as an opposition party, he built it from AC, ACN. He developed the party, made it stronger, up to the point that it can challenge a ruling party and win. And now that party has been in power for 11 years. We know of Asiwaju's leadership credentials. Atiku cannot condemn him or criticize him on that front, because Atiku's resume is also there. That every party he goes to, he has the tendency of disrupting, disorganizing, and ensuring he leaves the party worse than he met it. He was in PDP, heavily influential. You understand? Heavily. In fact, it was believed that politically he had more sway. He carried heavier weight than OBJ, his principal, which was what motivated him to run against his principal in 2003, a vice president. Ordinarily, one would expect that the presidency and the vice presidency ran on the tickets. You are joined. You cannot be separated. But this one ran against his principal. Eventually, he had to leave PDP how many times over? Till 2023. That his insistence on jettisoning the zoning formula ruined that party. Today, that party is the shadow of itself. He couldn't bring warring parties together and be the rallying force within any system. No. Whatever system that does not favor Atiku is ready to ruin such system. He cannot criticize Asiwaju on that front, because in 2015, 2019, when the conversations didn't favor Asiwaju remained, and he remained as the rallying force of that party. You understand? Atiku knows that we have this resume with us. He cannot criticize Asiwaju on that front. Are we even going to discuss corruption? Can Atiku, in good conscience, criticize this government on corruption? He would not, except he just want to play to the gallery. Because today, his testimony, one that was verified and confirmed and even publicized and advertised by his principal, Obasanjo, is such that, look, OBJ claims, and it is in black and white in his book, My Watch, that look, he has a case in USA.
We got a letter from America in June 2006 listing a number of people to be investigated. Atiku was one of them.
If you remember, in 2019, he had to go and join the diplomatic immunity of the then Senate President Bukola Saraki before he could be smuggled into USA. And he didn't attend any serious meeting. He had to run back before USA changed his mind. We are speaking to the fact that, look, he knows that we know him. His history is clear to us. He ran as vice president, and whatever he was capable of doing, if he's promising us anything today, he had the capacity to deliver it when he was vice president, which he failed to do. You get the point now? And he himself confessed that the electricity sector, where he and his principal invested $16 billion, he said he regretted the decision because it was a waste, it was bungled, it was squandered, it was mismanaged. He demanded apology from Nigerians. He said we should forgive him, that those funds could have been better utilized.
The issue of electricity is a thing that I feel very, very emotional about it. Because I believe if we had handled the issue of electricity when we were in office by 2005, would have provided enough electricity for the people of this country. But unfortunately, we did not follow that route.
And OBJ crowned it up by saying, look, if there's anything, OBJ said, judging by what he knew, or at that time, what he knows about Atiku, if he went ahead to support him, that God will not forgive him. In another fora, OBJ insisted that Atiku was his worst mistake in life. He said it was his worst mistake in life. Picking him as vice president, he said it was his worst error. And you know, OBJ can be very arrogant, and he hardly admits error. For him to admit that, okay, I usually portray myself as perfectionist, but I have committed a blunder, yeah. And that blunder was Atiku. It speaks volume. You understand? So, Atiku knows. And he cannot even discuss or challenge this government on economy. Because the only serious achievement which those that served under OBJ, Atiku himself, usually flaunts is the fact that Nigeria under them in 2005 got debt relief from the Paris Club. That's about the most fundamental achievements. But they won't also remind us that at that time as well, there were many other countries in Africa also benefiting from this debt relief. 18 nations, if I recall, including Benin, Tanzania, even smaller nations. So debt relief was not a silver bullet, because the idea of the debt relief was Nigeria was just emerging into democracy. It's a newly emerging democracy. At the backs of years of what was considered as misrule, misgovernance by the military government. And countries were ready, were willing, were even interested, were keenly interested in partnering with Nigeria and encouraging this country, the largest black nation, in encouraging us to become comfortable in democracy. So whatever deal we put on the table then, the global economies were ready to listen. They were ready to cooperate and partner with us. So it wasn't any economic wizardry. It was the fact that Nigeria is a strategic nation in Africa. The largest black nation, for example, it cannot be wished away. So Abacha made this country a pariah state. Most nations didn't want to have anything to do with us. We became more like a quarantined nation, like we're suffering from Ebola. So the moment we embraced democracy, we became the toast of every other, developed nation. So that was the argument. It was an encouragement. Now, those countries or the Paris Club that gave us the debt relief, there were conditions attached to it. It was in expectation that, okay, then you can build your development model upon this benefits. But what happened in OBJ's regime? So one of the requirements was that the OBJ government should put up anti-corruption agencies so that newly acquired revenue can be seen to be judiciously and accountably utilized. You understand? Well, what did we see? OBJ used that agencies to pursue his political enemies. He deployed the anti-corruption agencies as a personal instrument of vendetta. Eventually, what can we really point to as our benefit of that debt relief? What significant infrastructure did the OBJ government put in place, and by extension the Atiku government? People will say telephone, forgetting that the Republic of Benin, was that country, our neighbor, which some of us call the 37 states of Nigeria, already has a functioning telecommunication system. So we know that if it comes down to say, okay, he wants to change anything, because anybody that's contesting, it is under the assumption that you think you can do it better. So for somebody who was vice president, who chaired the economic team, whatever you want to do now, you could have done it then. And the testimony and evidence of our height is that you performed far worse then whatever you claim you want to change them. Insecurity, which is the easiest excuse for anybody. Boko Haram began to materialize, began to mature under that government. And they didn't have the foresight to nip it in the bud until the thing became, a beast we can no longer easily conquer under the Jonathan regime. Then, till now, we still have the vestiges left with us. So, there is no economic index upon which you can say Atiku's history or testimony, indicates that he will perform better in those areas than his current government. We know this. But we choose to focus on a relatively unknown candidate because sometimes they say it is the disease that you do not know that eventually kills you. We hold it a duty to ensure that the people are more familiar with an unknown figure, because now in the social media age, the youth have the tendency of being carried away with the noise. So our job is to filter the noise and bring out the substance and project it to the people. Thank you.